Hello, welcome everyone to this channel. My name is Janet. I'm working through the King James's Bible. Today I am in the book of Chronicles, part 1, and today I will be covering chapters 19 to 22. So I'll be giving a summary over each one. So let's get started. So chapter 19 begins with King David going to the new king of Ammon. His name is Hanun. Now his father has just died and King David was really good friends with him. You know, they had a good relationship. So he wanted to send messengers to him to offer him his condolences and to possibly, carry on that good relationship with this new king. Now, unfortunately, the princes around the new king, King Hanun of Ammon, they say to him, "Oh, why is David bringing these messengers to us? Are they trying to basically spy on us and take over our land?" So obviously this makes King Hanun suspicious, and what he does is, with the messengers that arrive from David, he shaves off their hair and he also cuts their garments so their buttocks are showing, basically showing that they are circumcised. It's kind of a huge humiliation, and so those messengers are left like that. Now some men in David's camp tell him what's happened to these messengers, and he tells these men, because they're so ashamed of what's happened to them, it's if they don't want to come back in, so he tells them to wait in Jericho until their beards grow back. Now the Ammonites obviously know that doing this is going to create war between them and Israel, which it does, so they start preparing. They pay 1,000 talents of gold to the Syrians for their chariots and also for them to get on board and basically come to war with them. Now David hears this, that they've set an army ready to go against him, so he gets Joab, who is his chief captain in command of the army, and his army and his mighty men, and they set out to war with the Ammonites and Syria. Now this all happens at Medeba, and when Joab gets there, he sees that he's surrounded by the Syrians on one side and the Ammonites on the other. So he tells his men, he splits them in two, and one side goes for each side, and he says, have faith and courage, we're going to attack, and whoever wins at one side will turn and help the other one. So that is their strategy, that's what they do. And Joab and his men defeat the Syrian side. So the Ammonites see this and they flee, they go running for the hills. Thus Joab wins this battle and returns back to Jerusalem. Now the Syrians, hearing this, they send reinforcements, they want a counterattack. So David again gets Joab and his army and they go and attack them. And this time they're even further badly hit. So in the end they surrender and they decide not to go into battle with the Ammonites anymore. So they are no longer their allies and they become servants to David. And this closes chapter 19. Now in chapter 20 we open, and it's the spring of the next year. And this is when they go into battle, when they start wars. So Joab sets off to take over one of the Ammonite city, Rabbah. And he goes in there with all his men, they defeat them and take over that city. They also take the king's crown, give that to David, he places that on his head, he's got all of these jewels, they basically loot the place from all of their monies, and it's building the wealth of David's camp, and they take the people remaining there and turn them into slaves to carry out work for them. Then we learn that David had 3 victories over some Philistine giants. So there's 3 of them. One of them from Gad had multiple fingers and toes. So he was certainly something to see, but they had victory over these 3 giants. And that closes chapter 20. Now in chapter 21, David commands a census to be taken of all of the Israelite tribes. Now this in the Bible, it says, is Satan. Satan is working through David at this point because God is the only one to command a census to be taken. It is not something that David should do. He doesn't own the Israelite people. They are only part of God's people, not David. So he's going above the Lord, and it's almost like he's trying to see, how big has my army grown? How big am I? That kind of thing. Now his chief commander in the army, Joab, he kind of knows this isn't a good thing to do, so he sort of says to King David, really, should we be doing this? This is going to fall bad on the Israelite people. But David won't have it, he's not listening, there's other army men probably talking to him, and he's just set in his path. He wants a census taken, so Job and his chief leaders follow David's command and they go out to count the Israelite tribes. So Job comes back, he has counted all of the Israelites, bar the Levites and the Benjamin tribe. Now the Levites are God's people, really, they work for God. So Job knew if he counted them, that's going to go even further against God. And the Benjamin tribe wasn't counted because basically one of the men in their tribe, in the book of Judges, if you go to chapter 19, you will see that a woman was raped badly by the actions of one of those men, and that was in Gibeah. It was a shocking tale. So Job decides not to have them counted because they've already been punished anymore, and it could wipe out their entire tribe. So anyway, when he comes back with the numbers, which is 1,100,000 Israelites, and then in the Judah tribe, which has been singled out, 470,000 mighty men were counted. Now, once this count is given to David, the Lord is angry and David immediately feels bad. He knows he's gone against him and he's like, oh Lord, please, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done this. I repent. Give me the judgment that is to be given. So the Lord gives David 3 options of what is going to happen. He has 3 choices of what judgment will take place. The first one is 3 years of famine. The second one is 3 months of defeat. So his enemies are going to defeat him for 3 months. And the final, third option is a 3-day plague. So looking at that, weighing it up, 3 years of famine, that's a lot. He's thinking that's going to be pretty bad. 3 months of the enemies defeating them, that could kill thousands and thousands. So he thinks the 3-day plague is his best option, and that's what he chooses. So the Lord sends an angel down and this plague hits the Israelites, and it hits with a vengeance. 70,000 die. Now David, seeing this, prays. He's like, please Lord, please don't take any more of the Israelites. I was the one who asked for them to be counted. It wasn't them. Let it all be taken onto me. So God says to him, right, I want you to build me an altar at the threshing floor of Orban the Jebusite. And the reason it's there is because that is where David saw the angel of the Lord, which had come down and sent this plague. So the Lord wants him to worship there. It's almost like a reminder, he's in that place where all of this judgment came down. He will worship there. It's a reminder. Look what happens when you go against God. This is where the altar is to be and where you must worship me. So David agrees to do just that, and he goes to Ornan the Jebusite and he asks him, I want to pay for your threshing floor. Now a threshing floor is where they thresh the wheat from the farming area. So he goes there, asks Ornan what the price is, the full price for this threshing floor, and Ornan says, no, if this is for the Lord, no, you can take it, plus I'll give you some oxen for burnt offerings. And David refuses. He's like, no, I want to pay the full price. Because he knows it's like, this is something I've done, I need to pay for it. So he does. He pays him 600 shekels of gold. And then he builds an altar there for the Lord. And he places burnt sacrifices on there as an offering to the Lord. And then this happens, pleases the Lord, and the plague is ended. David then knows that this place is where the temple of God will be built. It is where that final resting place shall be, because it has been shown to him in a vision, and it will be the place where they all remember what happens if you go against the Lord. So this closes chapter 21. Now our final chapter today, chapter 22, is David getting prepared for this temple because he's getting older now. So he is getting the resources ready for his son to build it. So he gathers all of the materials, the gold, the silver, the bronze, the wood, and the craftspeople. He gets that all ready for his son who will build this temple. Now David also has a vision for what it is to look like. So he has all these plans put out so his son will know, because his son is still very young, in how to put it all together. David then calls for his son and he charges him with the responsibility to build the temple of the Lord. And he tells him that God spoke to him And he said that his son would build him because he could not. He has blood on his hands from war. God did not want him to build it. He wants a man of peace to build this temple, and that is you, my son. And God will be your father, and he will work with you to reign over Israel. He then tells his son to stay faithful to God, to follow his laws and his statutes. David then tells his son about the gold, the silver, the bronze, all the craftsmen, that they're already there for him to take the reins and make it happen. He also speaks to the leaders of Israel, David, and he tells them, you need to help my son build this temple. These are the ideas. He's going to be the one in charge, and you and all of the people will work together to bring this temple to life. And so this closes our final chapter for today, chapter 22. So there we have it. We've had more wars and victories within the Israelite camp. They've won now over the Ammonites and the Syrians. We've had a census taken, then we've had a plague hit them, so they've gone through quite a bit. And now we've got the spot where the great temple of God will be built. So next will be that building of that amazing temple, which is to be taken place by his son Solomon, and those chapters will be coming up soon in the next video. So thanks for being here. Hope to see you there soon. Take care now. Bye.